Hi, guys. Welcome to the new series, Let Them Thursday, on the Jenny Who Can I Turn To podcast. I'm looking a little rough today, and I have to be honest. It has been a rough week, as God usually does. When I am processing new material and integrating it into my life, He seems to give me real time, real life experiences. And I can't even begin to tell you how much I've had to let them this past week. So let's start off with a few breaths. One of my most favorite things to do. Get comfortable. Just find a quiet place. If you're driving, don't do this. Maybe come back to it. But lower your eyes. Begin to create space to kind of get into what we're going to unpack in this episode. Let's take just a few breaths in and out. One more. Let's do one last breath where we're going to breathe in courage and breathe out fear, or whatever works for you. I think for me, it was the breathing in of courage and the releasing of fear, because for years I was afraid to do this podcast, but it's important. And even though my guest, Delilah, couldn't be here, it was important that I showed up looking like a mess, because I'm still not done with my day, but I needed to show up regardless of how I felt about it and unpack these past week. The first episode of Let Them Thursday, we talked about chapter 1, stop wasting your life on things you can't control. And chapter 2, getting started. Let them and let me. And Delilah and I shared a little bit about who she was and who I am, and why we started doing this. And although I have done a form of this for the past 12 years, slowly, and then getting better and better at it as I learned boundaries and navigating that with the people in my life, putting a name to it more specifically has been really powerful. I was a little afraid of digging into this book because I think if we just do the let them, it can be very unhealthy. And it wasn't until I got into the second chapter where she really outlines it's just not let them, it's let them and let me. And a lot of that for me has to start out with, let me pray, let me breathe as I am releasing the situation or the person that is attempting to steal my peace. I think that's the best way I can phrase it. I've worked really hard at navigating peace in my life, and I really try to do my best to hang on to it in all circumstances. And this past 2 weeks really have been difficult. This past 7 days have been even more challenging. I help run a business, and I do so currently with my ex-husband. And for the most part, I've been able to do that, maintaining boundaries, strict boundaries, really, and not allowing his mess of a life to steal my peace. And his life has gotten messy lately. And now the things he does specifically affect my future. Because if he's not making sound decisions, then it impacts the business. And that's hard. And learning to, I think, again, really, I haven't felt this level of I don't know what the word is. Unsettledness in some time. And I have really had to surrender and let him and let me pray for him. Let me pray for myself. Let me not engage except to set a boundary when he is not well emotionally. He can be a bully. I'll say that. That's a pretty good reference. And under no circumstances is it okay to talk to anyone, let alone talk to me, with a raised voice or in a manner that is not respectful. And it's been a while since I've had to state that boundary again, but I did. And I felt myself losing my peace. If any of you have ever seen, there's many pictures, there's a head, a heart, and it starts to evaporate into a bunch of tiny little pieces. That's what it feels like when my piece is about to go. And as a visually challenged person, I have that visual and I can feel it in my body. And that's how it really started at the beginning of deciding to get to do this book, to dive into this work that Mel Robbins has put together. And life has continued to give me examples. So over this past 2 weeks, it's interesting to me how everything has lined up with exactly what I have needed to do and to relearn and to redo from, stop letting things I can't control in my life to integrating the let them and let me to then this week's 3 and 4, which are shocker, life is stressful, right? How many of you guys are stressed out? Even with what's going on in the world today, that's stressful. I'm not a news watcher because of that reason. But if you are, I imagine you're stressed. Do you have issues at work that are stressing you out? Challenges with loved ones? All of those things are happening every day, every minute, and learning how to navigate that is so powerful. So I'm glad. I'm glad that we're getting to do this. Life is stressful. And the sooner I think we embrace that fact and learn how to navigate, the better off we are. And I think, I had started to feel better in life. You know, in 2023, I lost my fiance. And so navigating the grief in 2024 and then really starting to feel as though I was carrying the grief better and surrendering it more as we came into 2025. Uh, I had really started to feel better and felt anchored, and then these stressors really started to come up and hit me with work. And it's just not work, right? It's my ex-husband. It's the father of my children. It's those other things kind of started to creep in. And I'm so thankful that as they did, I also had this material. I think it's important to accept that life is stressful, but to have the tools to navigate it. We'll go over some questions and I'll answer them. It was more fun when I had Delilah here to answer questions, but I guess it'll just be me. And let's look at chapter 3. Life is stressful. The key message: stress is a psychological state that hijacks the brain's normal functioning, but it can regain, but you, excuse me, can regain control by letting go of what you can't control and focusing on your response. That has been key. And sometimes my response over this past week has been no response. I've had to listen and to not engage. And even when I wasn't in a space to listen, I took some deep breaths and allowed people to just be where they were or are. So there's 5 questions. We'll just kind of go through them. What situations in your daily life consistently trigger a stress response? For the most part, I don't have a lot of stress response. If somebody raises their voice at me, that will elicit a stress response. I will feel my blood pressure rise. I will feel it in my hands. Uh, I will feel myself want to react negatively, and I have to take some deep breaths and pray. I have reacted badly in the past, and I don't want to go back there. I don't want to say things that are hurtful. I don't want to be physical. I don't want to hurt anyone or myself. So navigating that is key. And so the big one for me is if someone is disrespectful or tries to raise their voice at me, especially when it's, and I don't know that it's ever warranted, but I know that sometimes people raise their voices and it doesn't have anything to do about or with me. But when the raising of the voice is directed at me, that is stressful to me. If I see people like running out of nowhere, that creates stress in me because I think something's happening and something's wrong. Um, those are the two, I think, biggest stress uh, activators where my body has a physical response. How do you usually react when stress takes over your thoughts or emotions? Like I said, I have a physical reaction in my body. What I have to do, and that kind of goes into the next question, is in what ways could I shift? Automatically, I start to pray. I ask for guidance from the Holy Spirit. I breathe. Breathing is so powerful. I'll never forget how breath and breath work changed my uh, very being and learning to have control over my body. So, as a breathwork facilitator, I know the power of breath. So, breath is huge to just automatically, like breathing, taking a few breaths, as the book talks about, like just calms down the amygdala, gets me out of fight or flight. Like just starting this podcast, even though I had a lot of anxiety about doing this recording, the breath really just calms it down. And I'm here. I'm navigating. I'm doing the thing. What practices help you come back to center when you're overwhelmed? Again, prayer, breathing, changing my state, movement, exercise, mind shifts, which is very much let them, let me, like mentally saying those things, verbally saying those things, writing those things out are all key to engaging in that process. All of them are so, so powerful. And I had to use all of them all week long. And I had Saturday just such a good day with God and surrendering and really mapping out all the let them and let me that I can do. And then something else happened. And what I have come to today is chapter 4. Let them stress you out. I don't like that. I don't like it. I think if it was just a regular job, it might be a little bit easier to do if it wasn't tied into my future or where I'm at in life. But work-related stress, especially about things beyond my control, like other people, their decisions, only becomes destructive when you give it power over you instead of channeling that energy into productive action. So, like today, showing up for work, I did all the things that I could do. I that were within my power to do, and then I left. There's no reason for me to be there beyond doing the work I need to do. That is key for me. And along with letting them stress you out, there's also some tools that are really helpful in the book that she talks about. When stress hits, let them immediately. Follow with let me take a breath. Key. Have you ever tried it? I never connected the dots, right? Somebody would piss me off and I would get quiet and I would breathe and I would pray, but I never connected the dots. Let them, let me. So I think it's phenomenal. When it comes to work-related stress and letting them stress me out, like it's just there's so many layers to it. And I'm sure we'll dig into all the layers as these weeks go on, but you know, I wish it were that simple, and it's not. But I'm doing the best I can. Learning to be productive in and with what I can is key for me right now. In the midst of the stress, in the midst of the crazy, but also having boundaries that I won't tolerate bad behavior. And I'm thankful that I've learned that over the years. Some key principles in managing high stress is the reality check. You can't control your boss. I don't try to. You can't control if people follow rules. Can't do it at all. I am the only one that can follow rules, and I need to be my own boss and do whatever work is necessary or in front of me, and then get out of the office. You can't control political outcomes. Oof. I try not to talk politics with anyone. It's such a triggering topic for so many, especially in today's climate and with what's going on in the world. And like I mentioned, I don't watch the news. Not that I'm oblivious to what's going on in the world. It just creates a lot of stress for me. And so I do a lot of praying for our world and our government. And that's the only thing I have control over. The next step is the power move, which is the let them make their decisions. Let me take control of my response. Let me choose what to do next. And I did a lot of that today. I like the ABC loop for stressful situations that Mel talks about. The ABC is assess, break, choose. Assess the situation. What can I control? What can't I control? Break the stress cycle. Say, let them. Take a deep breath. Again, so powerful. Choose your response. What serves my goal? What maintains my power? This is key for me. Where I currently work, it's been a family business for since 1995, and except for a small season, after I had an accident and the divorce happened, I went back to school, so I wasn't working there. And then my mother-in-law got sick, and when I tell you I had have the most greatest mother-in-law ever, that's an understatement. Because when her son went crazy, she just loved me and the kids. And I had gone back to school and was working in that field. And she got sick and asked me to come back to work. And uh, I knew I couldn't say no. And so for many years, I was there to serve her and protect her and my father-in-law. And fast forward 12 years. Oh, I guess maybe 15 because I went back in 2010. Um, my ex-husband and I had finally started working as a team, and I started to see a future, and things didn't seem so scary. And he was focused, and I could see just the potential of everything that I wanted the business to grow into and that it could grow into. And I have the blessing of getting to bring my grandbabies to work with me. So my goal specifically, or goals, is to have my grandchildren with me when my daughter is at work. She's a teacher. And what maintains, and also a goal is to have a thriving business, right? To be in the industry and doing well. It's been a while for our company to be all that it could be, and I really thought if we were both focused and that could happen, and it felt really good. And what maintains my power is boundaries and keeping my eyes on God and the goal, right? Having my grandbabies with me and growing the company. But in the midst of that, uh, my ex-husband's life has gotten a little crazy, and I need to separate myself from his crazy and keep my focus on what I can control, which is me. The practical application of not letting them stress you out is for the workplace, focus on your marketable skills rather than others' decisions. That's me going to work and doing the things that I can do. For public behavior, choose between addressing it, reporting it, or letting it go. And there is like no reporting it in my business. Who am I going to report to? There's they're not going to fire their son, and to that, they're not going to fire me. Um, so a lot of it is, I address it if it needs to be addressed, or I let it go, and that is been the balance. For systematic issues, channel stress into productive action. This podcast is productive for me, so I'm thankful that even after the week that I've had, and even after the fear I have of doing this, I made a commitment to do it, and here I am. Me being here, connecting with you guys, and trying to be my most authentic self. So channeling, processing, connecting, releasing, surrendering. That's how I can navigate this time in my life where I let him, let them, and let me. Yeah. Let's go over some questions. The key message: work-related stress, especially about things beyond your control, like promotions or others' decisions, only becomes destructive when you give it power over you instead of channeling that energy into productive action. Reflection questions. Are you currently stressing over something at work or in life that you cannot control? What is it? I have been for the past week in and out stressing over the business in general, and then more specifically this weekend, my ex-husband. I have no control over him. The control I do have in and at the business, I can continue to keep my eyes on and do. And in regard to him, I need to let him be him and put a boundary up. That it's hard. It's hard to hear about his toxic life and the choices that he continues to make that don't have anything to do with me, a person that he shares children with, a person that he says he wants to run a business with. It doesn't have anything to do with our children. It hasn't for many years. It doesn't have anything to do with our grandchildren. It hasn't since they were born. And there's nothing I can do about that. Those are his choices, and I need to let him make them. How does it affect your peace, your focus, or confidence when you let others' decisions dictate your emotional state? It makes me feel wonky. I am usually a person that is firmly anchored on a foundation of faith. I am a deeply loyal person, and I show up and do my job and serve to the best of my ability. And I try to every day move through the world with the intention to do no harm. Hasn't always been that way, but I would say solid for the past 10 years, it has. those three things in alignment: faith, family, loyalty, service to my community, to my family, uh, to first and foremost God, and myself trying to be who He calls me to be. But when I let others' decision creep in, I get a little wonky. Not a good place for me to be. I don't like the unsettling feeling I feel in my body when I let go of my peace. Not a good feeling. I'm thankful that I can get easily re-anchored to those things. But in the moments where those things, where I give over my peace and my power, I don't like the way that feels at all. So I'm thankful that I can navigate back to my foundation. I can navigate back to my anchor. What would it look like to let them and redirect your energy into something that fuels your growth? I'm doing it. Like I said, God always gives me the opportunity to live out what I'm learning and growing through. I don't like to think of like this is happening to me. I'm more of a person that this is happening for me. I get to practice my boundaries. I get to reconnect to my foundation. I get to grab on to my peace and be present. I think that's key. I really do. Learning to see life that way, that life isn't happening to me, it's happening for me. And that's a whole shift in perspective. Where in your life can you take productive action instead of spiraling into stress? Sunday, my productive action to kind of get out of the funk I was in was prayer. It was meditation. It was self-care. It was journaling, writing out that text that I was going, to send, but I don't. I have a thread about all the conversations that I'll never have because they're just not safe to have um, when it comes to the emotional side of things. Um, Surrender, you know, that's a superpower if you really think about it. If you're a person who loves to float like I do, all we have to do is stop fighting. That's what surrender is. Stop fighting and just let go. I guess that kind of ties into let them and let me, right? Let them try and let me surrender. Maybe that's productive for me. What truth or scripture could you speak over yourself when facing workplace disappointment or frustration? Ooh. The one that I have been hanging on to this week is, and the one that has gotten me through really the past 15 years, when I would cry out to God 15 years ago, like, remove this thorn, the ex-husband, remove it. Please, God, remove it. I don't want to love this man. I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to hurt. I don't want to be disappointed. And God would whisper to me, my grace is sufficient for you. Meaning, he wasn't going to remove the thorn. I could surrender the thorn. And God's grace carried me through all of that. And still, continues to carry me through all of that. Pretty amazing, really. Mm. I am thankful for His grace. I am thankful for His call on my life. And I'm even thankful for these life experiences that are lining up with these chapters. I am. I'm thankful we got through episode 2. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. I pray you know you're not alone. And I pray you know that you're loved because you are. See you next week. Well, or listen next week. However, you engage. I'm looking forward to next week. Not looking forward to the life lessons, but they'll be good, I'm sure. Have a good night or morning or day.